Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz Chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz Chess game number 101. Where I was white, I play e4 and my opponent selects the Caro-Kann defense. So let's check it out. e4, c6, d4, d5. These are the characteristic moves of the Caro-Kann. And then your choices here are knight c3. I guess that's kind of the main line where black usually takes and then knight takes, and then he can challenge the knight, or he can play a preparatory move like knight to d7. Knight f6 is the what Bronstein-Larsen line that Chess Explained likes to play. So that starts with knight c3. I play e5 here, the advanced variation, and you can also exchange right away and go into the Panov-Botvinnik attack. For somehow, I've been meaning to play that for a while, and somehow I always forget about it. I just play the e5 system out of habit because that's my normal response. So e4. Oh, here let's put the sound on. And we follow the normal line here. This is the short system where you develop with knight to f3 and bishop to e2. And white is also black is also making the most normal common moves there, just completing the pawn triangle and developing his knight. And now I play an unusual move, knight bd2. I've been experimenting with this one. And you'll see it's one of the choices here. It's not the top choice of the engine, which is the castling, which is the main line. But knight bd2 is a move that's in the list of candidate moves here. So it's a reasonable move. And sometimes it's good to play a move that's okay and and gets your opponent out of book. So my opponent followed up here with c5. You see that's one of the moves too. Rook c8, knight e7, c5. These are all possible moves. Queen c7. So the top book choices are knight e7 and bishop g6. Just getting on with development, or in case of bishop g6, getting the bishop out of harm's way in advance, being asked. And but my opponent played c5, and once again you see c5 is one of the candidate moves here, so reasonable move to play. And then I play c3, which takes us out of books. Let's just look at the notation tab here. Now the engine did not like c3. It's down on the list and basically allows black to equalize. It thinks I should try c4 here, which is a pretty interesting idea, but the knight on d2 supports this idea of c4. So after c4, if he takes, I can take back with a knight, and if he takes here, I can take back with a knight. So I guess I'm in pretty good shape either way. So I think I would try that. c3, I end up in kind of a passive position here. C takes d4, pawn takes, and then knight e7. And so now you can see it's about equal. So black is equalized here, and the computer is not impressed with my plan of knight f1 to g3. But sometimes these pieces on the king side are handy later. It's unlikely that black will castle queenside, although I suppose it is possible here in this kind of closed position. Anyway, he retreats the bishop. Anyway, yeah, so these knights here may be useful later in the game, so it doesn't show up immediately on the chess engine's radar, but it's not necessarily a bad plan. So he goes in with the check. I thought he should probably hang on to the dark squared bishop. This is technically his good bishop because I have these pawns on dark squares, which he could use that bishop to attack. So a move like bishop to e7 and f6 might be a plan here. But the engine likes bishop b4 check, so interesting. So I just counterattack. I defend against the check, and now it thinks queen a5 is a good follow-up. I would kind of that doesn't force me to exchange because I've got the I do have the knight defending that as well as the queen. Anyway, that's a way to play it. Get the queen out early, but he just takes it off, and now I kick the bishop again and then exchange it off. And so we end up in this position. Yeah, I was a little bit worried about queen a5 check, so that once again would be an interesting idea. I guess knight to d2 is not all that inspiring, so I would play king f1 and keep the rook over here on the king side. He played rook c8, and now I castled, getting out of trouble, trying to. and trying to get my pieces developed to reasonable squares. I was trying to find a place to put the queen here where I could help in the kingside attack. Even though I have more space over here, it seems like black has got just enough room to get by. He doesn't have room for his knight, but his queen can come out to g4 the moment this knight on f3 moves, which is a bit unfortunate because that'll force a simplification. But anyway, we stay in this vein of even to slightly better for black for a long time here, for a while. And yeah, once again, black has got the advantage here. And this move, yeah, I just overlooked his move, knight b7, forking my two rooks, so a bit unfortunate. And I played this knight g4 with the idea of perhaps sacrificing on h6. So this is one of the interesting points I wanted to leave the chess engine on to explore here. Because after knight b2, which he played, forking those two rooks, it seems my best response is knight takes h6 check. So I just was curious about what would happen here. Well, first of all, what happens if he takes? And queen takes h6. It's still better for black. Knight takes d3, rook takes d3, and f6. And the queen can defend over here. He's got a check here as well. It says knight f5 is the only way to play this to try and keep the advantage. Well, that's a bit tricky. Knight f5, e takes f5, and rook g3 check. Okay, so this is a bit scary. King f7, the king runs away. Rook g7 check, and then winning the queen. So that was quite a long sequence, but it leaves black with two rooks and a knight for the queen. And I guess I have some compensation, but black has a material edge, and I guess he's going to survive this attack. Anyway, interesting concept there. Knight takes h6, followed by another sacrifice with knight to f5. Definitely would not have seen that even in a long game. A little too deep for me. Okay, so I didn't play that. I played knight f1, figuring he would take, and I just didn't want to be worried about the knight check. But actually the queen, as I sort of realized in the game, is covering this c1 square, so I didn't have to worry about it. So he should probably just go ahead and grab one of my rooks right now. But he trades queens first, and I didn't really have anything better than taking. And then so I see the exchange here. I didn't want to hang around forever waiting for him to take back. And so now he's got two rooks and a knight against a rook and two knights. So he's up the exchange with the same number of pawns, and the computer gives him a strong advantage. So black should be winning here, and he keeps this advantage for quite a few moves. Now I don't want to trade. I think that makes it easier for him. Was there a better move? At some point it seems like. Now I guess this is staying around -2. Thought at one point it got slightly better for him, but it's between 1.5 and 2, tending towards 2 as you look at it more. Okay, maybe rook c7 was not the best move. Rook a to a1. That's kind of a funny move. Oh, but doubling on the back row, maybe coming over here and harassing my king would be kind of annoying. Okay, but instead he's getting behind his pawn, which is logical, and he's going to just play for winning with that extra passed pawn. And I've got an extra pawn on the king side, and I'm just trying to disrupt his structure over here, maybe win a few pawns. And the engine says he should just ignore this h6 move. So he should play a move like a5, and then I can play h7 check, and he has to go king to h8. And the problem is, I can take on f7 now and drive his king away, but his king can take that pawn. What I need to do is I need to protect the pawn and play knight to f7, and there isn't enough time. This rook is guarding the third rank. I would have to play moves like this. I could play c3, now f3, f3, king g3, rook to here, and then knight to here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves. And in that time, he has enough time to, say, move this knight and defend against that threat, which only takes one move. So unfortunately, my only plan here is to just take it right away. He takes. And there's really not much going on here, although his king is a little bit more exposed. So I've accomplished something. That's what I was trying to do. But instead, he took the pawn, kind of a natural reaction. But this gives me a lot of activity. I take with this knight, and now he's in check, and he's going to lose another pawn. And suddenly, we're getting into the range of equality. See, now it's just a fraction of a pawn, so it's roughly an even game at this point. I have one pawn for the exchange, and I have these pawns are connected. They're behind, so I do have to worry about this passed pawn over here. But anyway, it continues on now with only a slight advantage for black for a few moves. And right here, I missed my chance to play knight e8 check. That's a crime. Yeah, when it gives you a chance like that, you definitely have to take it, forking the king and the rook. But I was obsessed with my plan of getting my rook into the game. That's one problem with the way I play chess, and I think a lot of people have this, is you're concentrating so much on your own plans, you follow through with them, and you don't pause to consider any new possibilities that have opened up because of your opponent's moves. But you really should check every move and say, okay, what's changed now that he's made that move, and are there any other ideas I have besides the original idea? So this is not so good anymore, and he could probably draw by just moving his rook back and forth. I don't have anything better than repeating. But he didn't do that. He went behind the pawn and started pushing it, and I activated my rook. And now, depending on how far ahead the computer looks, it still thinks black is winning at this point because this threat is becoming stronger, and I haven't done a whole lot to stop it. And what is the recommended move here? The recommended move here is f4. I didn't want to play f4 because he gets another check, but I guess he can. I can always move my king forward. f4, a3, knight e8 check. Very risky way to playing. I wanted to get my rook over here to stop this pawn from promoting and maybe play knight to b5 if he just pushes the pawn immediately. So he moves his rook away from that threat. And so I come up with another idea, which is to get to this c5 square, also hitting the pawn and potentially going to b3, or taking this pawn on e6 and giving myself some more offensive threats. So, and I was calculating whether I could get to this square in time. So I want to play my knight to here before he's moved his rook to this square to keep his rook out of that, but he got the rook there first. I was thinking he would move the pawn first and I would have time for that knight move, but he moved the rook first, so that kind of tripped me up. So anyway, I did this exchange on e6, not finding anything better, and then tried to gain some tempo moves by attacking things with the knight. That's the one trick you have with the knight. The knight is a slow piece, and when you've got a problem at a distant location, you have to look for tempo moves with the knight. Can you throw in a check or an attack that'll help you gain a move to get your knight to where it needs to be? So now he can stop my plan with the move rook a5. And what rook a5 does is it guards this pawn here and just keeps my knight from getting back into the game, and then he can push ahead with his plan. So that would have been the way for black to win. Instead, he went to rook a7, and now this is a drawish game once again. And he was getting low on time at this point, and so this is just losing. And I was getting low on time too. I had slightly more time than my opponent, but not a lot of time. But if you'll see, after rook to b1, of course I can just take that rook with my knight. I don't have to take the pawn. I was so obsessed with the pawn. But the point is, knight takes rook, pawn takes rook, queen, and rook takes pawn, or rook takes queen. And it's just a rook against a rook, and I have 4 extra pawns, so clearly winning after knight takes b1. This may be not so clear. Rook takes, and still knight takes b1. It's better to take that rook than the other one. because this one can mobilize more quickly. Rook d1, and now f4, and I have the advantage, but it's not an overwhelming advantage. So let's play out a few moves. He takes a pawn. I go here. I thought one thing I wanted to check out was I thought this move rook to c4 was rook to d2 was good, forking the pawn and the knight. So knight c3, rook takes g2, and king here. And it's just 2 pawns and a knight for a rook. I don't know if I could win this, and the evaluation of 0.34 is not very reassuring. So he played the move rook c4, which allowed me to get in this g3 move. But it also, his rook has formed a cage for my knight. So my knight can't get out, right? The knight's moves are to those squares. Can't get out. But after I play king f5, he runs out of time trying to think of a response. So I was thinking of playing something like this, with just moving the pawns forward. So computer recommends king e7. So let's say I just push forward like this. King f7, king e8, king e7. Now I would go here to g5 so I can try and bring these other pawns up. King e6. Wow, does this mean he's just in time? So g7 here, king takes e5. This looks awfully dangerous, doesn't it? g7, rook c2. I guess everything's going to get equalized. I go here to defend the pawn. He takes here, I can queen, and he can check, and check, and take the queen, and I can't mate with the knight. Okay, so it's a draw with best play, going back to the end position. So unfortunately my opponent just ran out of time here in this position here, after I played king f5. Yeah, so this trick of corralling my knight and then using his king to attack the pawns, and then at the last minute the rook comes in to to mop things up. Looks like that's good enough for a draw. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again later. Bye.